outside on this lovely day. I'm trying to figure out a spot for my phone, but I might just need to hold it here. So I wanted to talk about the masculine feminine at a cosmic level. And I did a video yesterday about the masculine feminine, and I went into this already, but I was feeling like I wanted to go into it a little bit deeper because I feel like this is pretty crucial to understand in relationship, especially when claiming one's sovereignty. So in sovereignty, there is, in our awakening phases, which is not just one, but many layers, there is this part of us that seeks to identify with the masculine feminine as we've been taught. And of course, we have very jumbled explanations of what that is, and why the video that I recently made, and why this one, and why many others, is to distinguish, first of all, this, it's actually like the paint palette, if you will, of, the qualities we've been working with. And in reality, for a while, now this is not like across the board, but the majority of women have been playing with this old paint palette of feminine qualities, is what we've called them. We've dubbed intuition and creativity and things magical and things within, like related also to the woman who has a yoni, so she has a receptive physical component. And that made sense to our consciousness in that part of evolution, is to think about feminine qualities being that way, being the mystery, being the void where, babies come from a womb space, a void. So the woman is the depiction of the void and of the unknown and of that deep inner place. Whereas the man, having a phallus, having, this, even the job in reality for so long of hunting, of going out and being the aggressor, of going out and finding the food and being that outward aggressive dynamic energy, and having to use the mind and think rationally and logically about a process or a goal, or we're going to build a tribal village for our people, and the women are busy nurturing children and feeling one another and sensing things and being in that space. Okay, so we're coming through this time, and we're beginning to now be in a culture and society and world where it's kind of outdated to distribute those two properties, that every being can have access to the full paint palette of expression. So it's not just a male thing to be logical and to be, thoughtful about creating goals. And, those are things that women have been working on, integrating since the feminist movement, being like, I can do that too. I have a brain that thinks like that too. And then there's this idea of the man, learning and being initiated into the quote unquote ways of woman, or intuition, or the, magic, and this has been going on for a long time too, because you see men in Wiccan traditions being, the priests and acting magic just like the women. So it's not like it's a new thing, but it's new in more mainstream reality, that we're recognizing that we both now have both paint palettes of emotions and also energetic expressions, if you will. So think of it as energy and vibration or frequency. And this is also how my mentor Almeen described this to me, and I'm really starting to understand what she meant by false masculine and false feminine. Is, false might not be the right word, but that's what she said. And I see it more like we have been expressing as man and woman, from this man being energy, going out and doing the thing and needing to create more energy to support him, going to work, going to the gym, getting supplements, going outward to maintain energy. Whereas women, expressing from the feminine palette before, has been going within, intuition, the woman is first, the one in relationship normally saying, hey, you need to listen to me, I've got, my feelings, or my intuition says, or, that kind of a thing. And so that's been her feminine palette, the frequencies of different emotions. So in this time of awakening, the sexes, so to speak, we have been redistributing the paint palettes so that everyone has both the energy components and the frequency components. However, they are like back to back. They are like competitive in a way. Like either do you go, or do you wait and listen and open and surrender? So in a way, the male, female have been in competition back to back, not understanding, women are from Mars, you know, women are from Venus, men are from Mars, whatever that is like this can't understand each other sort of experience, right? But as we're evolving and as we're realizing that this idea that we're man and woman, this is just the suits that we're in. Like the internal is very similar, though we may have different quantities of each of the paints in our palette. We all have the same paint palettes. We all can feel. We all can make goals. We all can act. We all can have all of the energy and frequency colors or notes, if you will, but how we choose to apply them to reality is going to be based on either our woman body or our man body, but really just minimally. I mean, really that's like how we have sex and how we like feel hormones and, maybe how we dress. Although the dressing thing is also merging and hormones, I mean, I do believe we're beginning to develop new hormones, goddess hormones, that are what helps us to retain this awareness of the integration that's occurring from the duality matrix into a unified field of consciousness, where it's less about our man womanhood or skin color or any of that, and it's more about the idea that each one of us is a sovereign expression of the unity field. So we have all the paint colors and tones that we were dabbling with in duality matrix. And now it's like, well, what are you going to paint? What are you going to play? Like, what's your expression going to look like? And so now the masculine, feminine is turned back to its cosmic counterparts, as we see in the Shiva Shakti, mythology of Hinduism and Tantra, is this idea of Shiva holding space. Shiva is consciousness itself, the vastness of space, consciousness. And you often see Shiva laying down with Kali dancing upon his chest because she is Shakti, she is creation, she is energy, and in the form of Kali, that's often destructive, to allow rebirth. But the point is that she's the action, form itself. So our very bodies are creation. Our very bodies become this feminine manifestation, and our consciousness, all of us, is this Shiva. So we each are embodying Shiva in our consciousness and Shakti as our form and creation, which can look in any way. And as you notice, there are many, many depictions of Shakti. There is Durga, there is Saraswati, there is Kali, there is Lakshmi, and there are many, many, many others. I know there's at least 64 spots that there have been erected temples all over India, and I really believe it's tied into, there's 64 I Ching tablets, and then they are alchemically divided out to very familiar numbers like the 144,000 and so forth, that basically show how many, in a fractal way, forms of Shakti there are, which is as many as there are incarnations. So Shiva is the energy that we can tap into, that's actually the all-pervading consciousness, of which we are a microcosm of that. That means that everything in our realm is also in the entire realm, but in miniature, and we are expressing one aspect of the many, and so our microcosm has just a slightly different emphasis, but we can also find our one in the wholeness. So likewise, every other being, every other Shakti manifestation, their consciousness is in ours in part. Okay, so that's how we can look around and we can see a piece of ourselves in every person. Though it may be tiny, it may be on that far other part of the facet that is my microcosmic holographic representative of reality, and they're clear on the other side, but if I really dig deep in my consciousness, I can find where they exist in me and where I still need to love that part of me so that I can integrate more fully my divine masculine feminine components, my formlessness with my form. And I believe this is the true ascension that we are all after, when we're fully embodied, fully inhabiting as a God being, as a God goddess being. And we see ourselves in every person. There is no person that we do not see ourselves in. When we learn to love that part of ourselves. It doesn't mean we're going to be hanging out with that part of ourselves for eternity, but it's there and we get to pass by it and maybe get a chance to either pay alms or, the other way. And I feel like the more we resist what we see in someone else, unwilling to see it in ourselves, that's where we create karma, in my opinion, because we'll have to keep revisiting that aspect of self until we can love it, because we're not fully integrated as a God goddess being until we've loved all parts of ourselves. There's a very beautiful story about this. I think it's called The Egg. Online, you can Google it. It's like a little mini short video, but it says it perfectly. It's like we have every single being in all of existence in the macrocosm, and so in our microcosm we also have every single aspect within us. And some, like I said, some might show up very tiny. It's like all the cells in our body. Some cells are toe cells, some are, our butt. So somebody might show up our reality and we're pretty clear that they are an asshole. But you're like, you know what, I have an asshole too. So they are representative of that part of me, which from time to time I'm going to take care of and love. I'm not going to totally ignore, but I'm also not going to obsess about or spend too much time there or do a lot of extra effort. Does that make sense? So maybe a grotesque example, but sometimes we're unwilling to see the asshole in our life as somehow part of us. So I challenge you to see yourself in every being. Where do I do that? Like, that annoys me so much, but who sees me doing that? Who sees me like that? Because that's all it really takes to integrate. And when we integrate that property in that other person, we become more whole. We become more of our divine nature, and when we become more whole, we access greater wealth instantly, which is the whole reason I think of the integration process, of the ascension process. Not so we can get richer money-wise necessarily, though that can be part of it, but we access greater wealth, greater wisdom, greater connection, greater flow, greater synchronicity and harmony and passion and intimacy and all the yummy things that we all want to experience. It just gives me chills to even say. So, to understand ourselves as the masculine feminine from the divine perspective, the Shiva Shakti. That's the best way I know to describe it. Shiva is consciousness. Right now, we can all become aware of ourselves. I can become aware of the sun that's hitting my body right now, and the way that I am kind of squatted down in this weird pose right now. You should see me, I'm totally just squatting. But I kind of like do the yoga pose. So this, me, the form, is Shakti. So I'm Shiva Shakti right now, and so are you. You can become aware of what you're doing in this moment. That's your Shiva component. And then you're doing it, like you're being it. You're the manifest form of it that can create. That's Shakti. So we really limit ourselves in the duality matrix by identifying, I have a lot of masculine qualities or I have a lot of feminine qualities. those are our paints, those are our tones, those are the things in our palette to create with. Our emotions, they sure make a beautiful scene sometimes, you know? Or at least a really like interesting one. You know, if somebody goes off in a rage and fit, it's like, well, this doesn't happen very much. And it's kind of like you can move into a place where it's almost enjoyable. You know, like I believe that's what Shakespeare was up to, is like, hey, you know, these moments in life where emotion really gets us, and someone's like really choosing to play that deep purple right now, like, woo wee, you know, check that out. Someone is smearing light lime green all over the place right now. Like they're everywhere here in the supermarket. Like you should see it. And it just becomes this ability that we have as an integrated being to honor the masculine, feminine paints, colors, tones, like a symphony is playing. And we have all of them at our access. We can develop more of them or get more of any one of those paint colors that we put our attention on. That we've all kind of been divvied a certain amount, or we prefer certain colors or whatever, or we really are good at and are prone to. My mom used to call me a drama queen, so I guess I like to get colorful about a lot of things. And I'm learning to own that more, you know, that fun part of me. And that's my paint palette of my energy and frequencies that I get to use as an integrated being who's seeing myself now in my God Goddess self. That I'm inviting you to see yourself in your God Goddess self right now. To be like, okay, I have consciousness and a body, therefore I am Shiva Shakti. And what can Shiva Shakti do? Well, think of all the different forms if you're not familiar with that tradition. It really just does embody like every god goddess on the like in any myth anywhere, because that's an actualized being, you know. And sometimes we want to put judgment, like, oh, that god isn't very good, or like they were debaucherous, or they did sacrifices, or they were promiscuous, or whatever labels we want to give these characters. But the truth is, like, embodying in fullness and authenticity all of the entire paint palette of human emotion and frequency, I kind of think that's what we came here to do in this divine Leela. So right now we're just trying to unplug from all this duality complex of judgment. You know, some people say, well, judgment is good. I mean, that's in the tarot cards, someone told me. It's like, okay, well, the tarot cards just simply tell you what exists. And judgment can also be like, that's blue and that's green. You're like, that's green? I think it's kind of like greenish blue. You're like, okay, it's in the realm of green and blue. Or you can be like, that's a log and that's a piece of grass. But I might have, you know, that's a stump to me, and that's like a little bit of moss, actually. So it's like, okay, it's a judgment call based on semantics, but not a judgment call based on what is inherently good or bad. That's what I'm getting at. Like in the Divine Leela, we release from the duality complex where something is inherently good or bad, and where there really is no toxic masculinity and toxic femininity, is simply a different color on the paint palette. I'm really liking the sun on my hair right now. Anyway, this is going really long, but I love that I could actually talk even longer about this, because this is such a crucial and fundamental understanding of, you know, going to the next level right now with our consciousness, with our uh, management of emotions in our relationships. Like, if we can really understand and get this idea that we've been living in a mirror, like we've been living in a reversal of polarities. So like what is true on the divine perspective, which is really like a quantum perspective where we realize everything is light, to this linear model, which, you know, I think was necessary, like part of our evolution to drop into that. Is like this whole knowledge of good and evil thing. So it's like we fell into that place of understanding as a building block that we would then throw to the side for the next one. Like we're counting backwards or whatever. We went to 2 and then we went to 1. I don't know how it worked before that. I can't remember. But I believe there's actually something beyond this oneness too that we have yet to um, see or understand. But at this point in time, the unity field calls. And I hope this has offered a bit of insight into how that could be integrated and embodied in your person and in your relationships today. So thank you for joining me. Catch you next time. With love.